Viewers, you're still watching Nile TV, Nile Cruise on Nile TV International on a very special day, which is Mother's Day, and we have with us today a very special exclusive guest, which is Dr. Of course, Nadia. And Dr. Nadia, before the break, of course, I was asking you a question, which is the impact of the projects that our children or the children learn at schools when it comes to scientific research, and how is the impact of these projects on them when they grow up, and on the ground they have to work and be inspired by these projects that make them brainstormed and help them a lot, of course. What do you think?
Of course, this is very important for the children to know how to search for the knowledge by themselves, how to put a certain problem and solve this problem. And let us differentiate between different schools. Some schools are doing so. Some centers for the kids, preschools also are doing so. And this is very important, not only to know the knowledge, it's also to be observative and to know the problem facing us. Because sometimes we tell them, choose whatever problem you want and search for it and give us the answer. This is very important for everybody to be observative and to know what is going around him, not only from the scientific basis, but from everything. He has to be observative and to know how can he solve the problem, how can he manipulate, how can he manage a certain catastrophe that meets him or something like that.
This leads me, Minister Zakhary, to ask you about something that I guess should be interesting to our viewers, which is how do we have a scientific researcher mentality? I mean, lecture us on how to possess a scientific researcher mentality so as to face up to the challenges and problems we face in everyday life, not necessarily something that has to do with the purely scientific problem, but any regular problem that we face in our lives. What are the ABCs of your science?
Okay, let me say that in my belief, a scientific research, whether it is in the field of humanities or in the scientific field like chemistry, biology, or whatever, it's a sort of life, of art, I'm sorry. Can you tell somebody to compose a song when he's grown up? You have to teach him from the beginning how can he compose the music. This is the same for a child. He has to know how can he observe what is surrounding him, how can he search by himself, how can he ask. And if he says a certain knowledge which the teacher does not know, the teacher must not blame him. Because sometimes when a child tells the teacher, I read something in the internet or something like that, the teacher blames him. When he puts this in the exam, he will fail. And this is not correct, of course. This is something. The other thing that there are some, maybe you asked me what is the difference between the universities at the States and the universities here and the scientific research there and here. The problem is that they have everything near their hands. How do they have it near their hand? When we make a scientific research, we are asking here, we are asking for equipments, asking for chemicals, asking for some glassware or laboratory ware that we need. All these are done abroad, are manufactured abroad. So we import them. So when I ask for something, I stay for about 6 months to get it. But over there at the States, when I remember I asked for a certain chemical, and then the second day I found a phone. We are very sorry, we cannot get it today because there is a storm. I was not expecting it the second day. So can you feel how quickly they are and how slow we are here? But it's not the problem of the mentality of people. It's the problem of what I want to say, it's the steps by which we get the things. But do we have the problem that we have no faith in Egyptian scientific research? I don't know why. Because we have many, many good scientific researchers. So the problem is not applying these researches Some of the researches are applied, but minimum quantity of the researches are applied. We need application more than that. So all this gives the confidence for a scientist to continue and to have the patience in his work, and he's sure that there will be a certain feedback from what he is doing.
Dr. Nadia, of course the Egyptian women from past and present, in addition to breaking barriers and shattering stereotypes, have made contributions in their fields that are really inspiring. What do you think, Doctor?
There are many women who are inspiring in their field. You want me to say about scientists or in general?
Scientists and then in general.
Let me say about scientists first.
Okay.
We have Lutfi and Nadia.
Scientists, because you're one special one, of course, and you're one of the very inspiring ones.
No, thank you.
In the field.
There are much more better than me.
I'm not complimenting you here. And in general, because today is Mother's Day and we need to spread this
we have Lutfi and Nadia. She's a famous scientist and she has done something very good in the Laser Institute. We have, let us take another part, not as a scientist, we have Mother Maggie. She's making very good work in serving those who are in needs. It was a sudden question, so I don't have other names, but there are many names.
You're
one,
one,
Dr. Nazli Gadel Maula. She was in the National Cancer Institute. She was the one who let the chemotherapy enter to Egypt.
Exactly. Dr. Zainab al-Sobki.
Dr. Zainab al-Sobki for the blood banking. So many names.
And you, of
it's
course,
unfair
you talked about
to say these names.
Of course,
only.
among the many others, but all
That's what came to my mind now.
Are distinguished and women that inspire other ladies.
Yes, we have Dr. Farkhanda Hassan, Dr. Venice Kamel,
of course.
many names.
and you talked about, of course, about the pioneer, Dr. Samira Musa, in the very beginning.
Yes, but I'm saying who are living now.
Contemporary, yes. Now, Professor, when should a parent know that their child could potentially be a scientific researcher? I mean, what are the qualities, what are the talents that are usually found in a potential scientific researcher?
I think from the time he starts speaking and he starts asking, and this is an annoying thing, I know that a child asks for everything, but let us look at the other side. He is an intelligent person, he is observative, he wants to know more about it, he doesn't take the things as it is like that. So from the very early childhood, like 3 years or 5 years, you can realize that this person has a certain intelligence, he's caring for what is going around him, and this is the character of a scientist.
All right.
Professor, of course, Dr. Nadia Iskandar, former Minister of Scientific Research, member of the National Council of Women, head of the Scientific Research Committee, professor in the National Cancer Institute, Cairo University. Of course, it was a great pleasure having you today with us on this very special day, which is Mother's Day.
Thank you.
A very exclusive guest, which inspires all mothers all around Egypt and all around the world, of course. A person who sacrificed for her country, and which is a great example for every lady that lives here in Egypt and every Egyptian woman. We thank you so much, Dr. Nadia, for joining us in today's episode of Nile Cruise.
Thank you, and happy Mother's Day, and thanks for the fathers as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Nadia Iskandar Zakhary. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, please stay with us. We'll be back here on Nile Cruise, and we have now a report on the Nilometer. So let's watch it and come back.